am also.
Right, I'll help you out.
Fine?
You fire away and I'll help you out if you need to.
Okay, we are going to ask you some questions, but you can answer this question, and whatever you want.
Okay.
You can extra limit yourself.
Okay.
We're going to ask about what your father did in Spain. If you know something, I know you know something. And what did your father? What did you think about your father? What did your father teach you? What?
Okay.
Okay, you'll see.
Okay. And maybe, are you going to ask also why he went to Spain in the first place?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Some questions are going to be the same that we have asked him.
Right.
But
okay.
Just because we have to. Okay, we can start. Answer you. What did your father do before joining the International Brigade? What did he do when he was working at? Well.
Okay. My father was born in Manchester to a very, very poor family. He left school at 14 with very, very little education. He joined the Merchant Navy, and it was in the Navy that he started reading, and in the Navy I think he became very aware of the class system of officers and ordinary sailors, and he began to kind of think about society a lot, and I think that was the beginning of his political education. And he left the Navy. He didn't like it at all. He left the Navy, he deserted, and came back to Manchester. So he was an unemployed man in Manchester in the 1930s, and he started going to meetings of the unemployed workers movement in Manchester. And that was where he began to meet people and talk to people. And that was where he found out about what was happening in Spain. And it was through his discussions with other people that he began to form the idea of going to Spain. And so he was friends with a man called Bert Maskey, and my father and Bert Maskey decided that they would go to Spain. So I think at that point when my father went to Spain, he wasn't a very politically educated person, but I think he just had a gut feeling, a sense that something was wrong and that democracy was at stake in Spain. But I don't actually think it was any more than that. It was just a feeling that what was happening in Spain was wrong, that a democratically elected government was being threatened. And I think that was probably about as far as his political understanding went at that stage.
Do you confirm that there is a simplistic view that all the international brigadiers were communists and all went to Spain because they wanted to fight against the fascism? Well, maybe the second part is true, but not the first one. Not all the international brigadiers were communists.
I think that that's right. Certainly, my father wasn't a communist at this time. I think that a lot of the men and the women, because there were nurses who went to Spain, I think a lot of them went. Some of them were involved in left-wing movements. Some of them were in the Communist Party. There were a lot of Jewish brigaders. A lot of the men who went to fight in Spain were Jewish as well. But I think a lot of those people went just out of a sense that something was wrong, something was happening that they didn't like. But certainly a lot of my father's friends who he went with weren't in the Communist Party at that time.
Mm-hmm. Well, you have answered, but anyway, why did he decide to join the brigade?
He went to Spain because I think of this feeling of democracy being at stake, and I think that the people who went to Spain had the foresight. I think they realised that if the Spanish Civil War, if what was happening in Spain wasn't defended and fought for, if democracy wasn't fought for in Spain, then there was a danger of what was happening in Spain spreading throughout Europe. So I think they were very aware of what could happen throughout Europe.
Mm-hmm. Well, who was your father? Because we don't know. Still.
Okay, my father was San Wild, and yeah, as I say, born in Manchester,
Mm-hmm.
and lived all of his. When he came back from Spain, he carried on living in Manchester.
Okay, I have read, if I remember well, he went to Paris.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And
Yeah.
what happened?
Okay, they to go to Spain, what you had to do is you had to apply, and then you went across to Paris, and then you travelled through Spain, and then a lot of the men had to climb or somehow get over the Pyrenees into Spain, and so my father travelled with a couple of other people who he knew from Manchester, and then when he got into Spain, he was then allocated to a group of people.
Do you know where did he arrive?
When?
Where?
Where? No, I don't.
Okay. And well, he's in Spain. Do you know what he did before going to fight?
Before
Spain,
he went
yeah.
in Spain.
Yes.
In Spain, I think they had some very, very basic training.
Mm-hmm.
Because my father had been in the Navy, he had a little bit of experience,
Yeah.
but not much. And they had very, very basic weapons training. And my father always had very, very good leadership qualities. He was a very confident leader, and while he was in Spain, he became, in the end, he was the last commander of the British battalion. And when I used to meet men who'd been with my father in Spain, when I used to meet them afterwards, when they'd come back from Spain, they always talked about my father's qualities as a leader. He was very brave, he was very cool,